Your mama, she had the kindest eyes I ever saw. Just like yours, sweet girl. Graham Collier froze mid-step, his briefcase slipping slightly in his grip. 20 feet away, his 4-year-old daughter Lily sat on a park bench beside a woman he'd never seen before. A woman whose clothes were worn thin, whose hands trembled slightly as she gently touched Lily's hair. His heart hammered. Every instinct screamed danger. But Lily was smiling, that pure, unguarded smile she hadn't shown in months. Not since... Graham's throat tightened. Not since Claire died. He moved quickly but quietly, close enough to hear but not interrupt. "You knew my mama?" Lily's small voice carried wonder and heartbreak in equal measure. The woman nodded slowly, tears streaming down her weathered face. She couldn't have been more than 27, but life had carved years into her features. "I did, sweetheart. I took care of you when she was very sick. She used to talk about you all the time, said you were her whole world." Graham's legs nearly gave out. Claire's nurse. This was Claire's nurse. 18 months earlier, Graham's world had shattered in the sterile quiet of Mercy General Hospital. His wife, brilliant, beautiful Claire, had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The prognosis was 9 months. She lived for 7. Through those agonizing months, there had been a rotation of nurses. Graham remembered most of them vaguely. Professional, kind, efficient. But one stood out in his fractured memories. A young woman with gentle hands who'd stayed late, who'd sung softly to Claire when the pain was unbearable, who'd held Graham's hand once when he broke down in the hallway. Her name was Bethany Porter. He remembered because Claire had whispered it so often. "Bethany made me laugh today. Bethany says it's okay to be scared. Bethany reminds me what kindness looks like." And then one day, Bethany was just gone, replaced by someone else. Graham had been too consumed by grief to ask why. Now here she was, sitting on a park bench, wearing shoes with holes in them. "Excuse me," he said, his voice rough. Bethany's head snapped up, and her face went pale. She stood quickly, trembling. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean... I wasn't trying to... I saw her, and she looked so much like Claire, and I couldn't help myself. I'm so sorry." Lily looked between them, confused. "Daddy, this is my friend. She knew Mama." Graham's eyes burned. He studied Bethany carefully, the way she held herself, the shame and fear written across her face, the way she was already stepping back, ready to disappear. "You're Bethany," he said quietly. "Claire's nurse." She nodded, unable to meet his eyes. "What happened to you?" They sat on the bench while Lily played on the swings, close enough to watch, but far enough for privacy. Bethany's story unfolded slowly, painfully. "I was in nursing school," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Working nights at the hospital to pay tuition. Your wife, Claire, she was special. She treated me like I mattered, like I wasn't just the help." Bethany's hands twisted in her lap. "When she got worse, I started staying longer than my shifts. I couldn't leave her. She was in so much pain." Graham remembered. God, he remembered. One night, she was crying. The medication wasn't working. I held her, and she asked me to sing. So I did. I didn't realize the head nurse had cameras in the rooms. She said I was being inappropriate, unprofessional. She reported me to the board. Graham's stomach dropped. They suspended my nursing license pending investigation, but I couldn't afford a lawyer. I had student loans, rent. I wiped my eyes roughly.
I lost everything. My apartment, my car. I couldn't finish school. I tried to find work, but who hires a suspended nurse? Bethany, Graham breathed, horror washing over him. I came back to the hospital once to check on Claire, but they had security remove me. I never got to say goodbye. I never got to tell her, her voice broke completely, that taking care of her taught me what it means to be human. For a long moment, Graham couldn't speak. This woman, this kind, broken woman, had lost everything because she'd shown his dying wife compassion. "Why didn't you come to me?" he asked gently. "You were drowning in your own grief. I couldn't add to that. And honestly," she looked at him with devastating honesty, "I thought maybe they were right. Maybe I'd crossed a line." "You didn't." Graham's voice was fierce. "You gave Claire peace when I couldn't. You gave her dignity. That's not crossing a line. That's being exactly what a nurse should be." Bethany sobbed quietly, her shoulders shaking. Lily ran over suddenly, her small face serious. She climbed into Bethany's lap without hesitation, wrapping tiny arms around her neck. "Don't cry," Lily whispered. "Mama wouldn't want you to be sad." Bethany held her like she was made of glass, and Graham saw something shift in her expression, a crack in the wall of shame she'd built around herself. 3 days later, Graham called Bethany to meet him at his office downtown. She arrived nervous, wearing the same worn clothes, her eyes darting around the glimming lobby like she didn't belong. Graham's assistant showed her in. He stood when she entered and gestured to a chair. "I made some calls," he said without preamble, "to the hospital, to the nursing board, to my lawyers." Bethany's face went white. "Please, I don't want trouble." "You're not in trouble." Graham handed her a folder. "The head nurse who reported you, she's been investigated. Turns out she had a pattern of targeting younger nurses. Your suspension has been overturned. Your record is clear." Bethany stared at the papers, uncomprehending. "Your nursing license is fully reinstated. I've also contacted the university. Your tuition for the remaining semester is paid. You can finish your degree." I can't accept this." "Yes, you can." Graham's eyes were bright. "Because Claire would want you to. Because Lily needs people like you in the world. Because I need to know that kindness isn't punished." Bethany covered her face with shaking hands, sobs racking her thin frame. Graham moved around the desk and knelt beside her chair. "You saved my wife from dying alone in her pain. You gave her comfort when I was too broken to do it. Let me give you back what you lost." "I didn't do it for this," she whispered. "I know. That's exactly why you deserve it." 6 months later, Graham stood in the back of a small auditorium watching Bethany cross the stage in her nursing cap and gown. She'd graduated top of the class. Lily sat beside him, swinging her legs and clapping wildly. After the ceremony, Bethany found them in the crowd. She looked different, healthier, steadier, like someone who'd rediscovered her worth. "Thank you," she said to Graham, her voice strong now, "for seeing me, for believing me." "Thank you," he replied, "for loving my wife when she needed it most." Lily tugged Bethany's hand. "Are you going to be a nurse again?" "I am, sweetheart." "Will you take care of people like you took care of Mama?" Bethany knelt down, eye level with the little girl. "Every single day, I promise." Lily hugged her tight, and Graham watched as Bethany closed her eyes, holding on to this child like she was holding on to hope itself. Later, as they walked through the parking lot, Lily looked up at her father. "Daddy, why did you help Miss Bethany?" Graham thought about Claire, about the woman who'd taught him that love meant showing up even when it hurt, about the nurse who'd embodied that lesson. "Because, baby girl," he said softly, "sometimes the people who give the most are the ones who have the least. And when we find them, we hold on, we lift them up, because that's what kindness looks like." Bethany waved from across the lot, and Graham waved back. Two people bound by loss, healed by grace. Sometimes, he thought, we save people. And sometimes, letting them save us is the greatest gift we can give.